Arthur?
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, directors, our attorney, senior staff, and public. My name is Arthur Breedenhoff. I'm here on one of your agenda items, the MCAT election. Currently, I serve on the MCAT board. I was fortunate to win the election in February as the representative for the special purpose districts. I like to continue to represent special purpose districts, and with your support today, that will go one step further to try to continue to represent special purpose districts. And in this county, special purpose districts are becoming more and more important because special purpose districts drive development. All these new home sites we see, there's MUDs in all of these developments that are driving the development of Montgomery County, and special purpose districts deserve a voice, and it will continue to be more important as we grow as a county. So appreciate your support, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider an act on request for adjustments to or relief from specific charges by the district. Okay. Consent agenda, are there any items that people want to withhold?
Move to accept as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item 8, consider an act on approving a resolution to require proportional voting during Montgomery Central Appraisal District Board of Directors of Elections.
I motion to approve.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would, one comment to consider where it talks about the most senior member, we may want to define that or have it be the president.
I thought of that about 5 o'clock in the morning after I turned it in. I go, oh God, senior to me always meant the most seasoned on the most term, continuous term, right? And then I go, it could be the oldest, and I could probably live with that too.
Just
What would you like to do? Would you like to amend the
make it the
resolution?
president is my thought.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
So I make a motion that I amend my, whatever this thing's called, a resolution to section 3 to change most senior board member to the president of the MUD.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Consider an act on the official ballot of a special district candidate for Montgomery Central Appraisal District Board of Directors and the adoption of a resolution in connection therewith.
You have the ballot up there in the resolution to be signed and to be able to cast your vote.
In line with the previous resolution, I'll cast 2 votes for Arthur Breedenhoff.
Paul?
Point of clarification, I don't know if this is addressed to council or what, but on our page 22, it's the second page of a letter from Montgomery County to the president of our board. On the second page, second paragraph, it says, in counting votes cast in the final election, I assume this is it, involving all voting taxing units entitled to vote. It goes on and on, but the next sentence, pursuant to section 6.03, the candidate who receives the most votes of the conservation and reclamation districts is considered to have received all the votes cast by the conservation and reclamation districts. The other candidates receiving votes who did not receive the most votes are considered to have received no votes. And that's what I've been told for years as a board member, and that's the way I voted. Can you, why are we voting again?
That is a good question. Do we have a representative of the appraisal district here?
Yes.
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 Would you please address the board? I think this is a question of how the votes are actually counted.
By emails for weeks. I'm John Thaler.
Yes, well,
I'd
hello.
never met you. Pleasure to
Oh.
meet you. Thank you for coming.
No problem, definitely. Well, so the section of the code that we are referencing is 6.03K. And I was pulling that up because I do not want to misquote that particular section. And so give me just a minute. My job never stops. I was checking emails at the same time. Okay. So in 6.03K, it states that it says, except as provided by subsection K1, the governing body of each taxing unit entitled to vote shall determine its vote by resolution and submit it to the chief appraiser before December 15th. The chief appraiser shall count the votes, declare the 5 candidates who receive the largest cumulative vote totals elected, and submit the results before December 31st to the governing body of each taxing unit number of votes received by the candidates. For purposes of determining the number of votes received by the candidates, the candidate receiving the most votes of the Conservation and Reclamation District is considered to have received all of the votes cast by Conservation and Reclamation Districts, and the other candidates are considered not to have received any votes of the Conservation and Reclamation Districts. And the chief appraiser shall resolve a tie vote by any method of chance. So the initial ballot that you did was to place a nominee on the general ballot. This is now the general ballot that you are looking at before you.
That's still not clear to me. Are you telling me that 603K only applies to the election that we had last month, not this month?
No, this one.
This month.
Yeah, it was a little confused. You're not the only person that was confused. This is not Sherry's fault. This isn't the board's fault. This is the legislature's fault. The law is a mess, and we all have been working to try to understand it. Frankly, I still don't think we all get it. But initially, we were told that process to nominate that we went through last time would be the end of it, that we would be done. And that guy would, and then our votes would be accumulated like you suggest, and that would be finished. But then a rereading and other interpretations by lawyers said, no, you have to go through the process again. So this is they're just trying to adapt to a rule that's very poorly written, and that's where we are.
I don't want to have one of our directors putting words in your mouth, but how are you going to count ballots on this go around?
So we're going to count it in accordance to where our attorney basically says 603K is reading, which is saying that the winner of the Conservation and Reclamation Districts will have all of the votes. The one that receives the most votes will receive all of the votes, and the other candidates will receive none.
Just kind of weird. If I vote for a minority candidate that wins, he could take, and he's also a candidate on another ballot than the general ballot, he won't get my votes. The majority of the special districts winner will get all of our votes. It's just very strange. I can tell you, it's also, everybody's playing games. There's people that have postponed meetings until the deadline so that they can control who they vote for and who they nominate, how many positions on the board they get. There are people that are having public meetings like us that aren't publishing the videos so that other people don't know how they vote. It's gotten really silly. I'm embarrassed. It's not your fault. It's not meant to be fault. It's critical of the way the legislature left us.
So backing up to the last agenda item. How are we going to record the votes based on what she's just told us in our resolution from our property appraiser to MECCAT?
The results of what you decide today.
Well, I didn't hear a final breakdown. All I heard was one person.
Yeah, one part, that's all we've got
Right,
so far.
right, the results of that, we will tabulate and send by Friday. Jeannie will.
I will send it over to Sherry.
So we're entitled to,
Your ballot that you're gonna sign and the resolution and everything, I will forward over to them. However you do the folks.
Well, we voted in favor apparently of proportional voting. So I guess what we need to do now is identify that proportional voting so we can
Correct.
report
We
it.
only have one so far.
we have 10 total votes, and as Jim suggested, we each have 2.
I vote my 2 votes for Arthur Bredoff.
I'll vote my 2 for Arthur.
Vote mine too for Charles Shirley.
And my 2 for Charles Shirley.
So Mr. Shirley got 4, Mr. Bredoff got 6.
Eager to see what happens Friday evening. Have fun counting them, so.
My emails have been blowing up.
Oh, I bet. This is so confusing.
Correct.
Thank you for weathering that storm. You're pretty new to the job as a chief, right?
As the chief, yes, but I've been in the business for 25 years.
Yeah, we threw this on you and it wasn't easy, I know. And I was bugging the heck out of you too, so. We got there. I actually think I understand it, which is scary. That's why I'm afraid.
Item 10, receive a regular monthly SDRI Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations, projects, and public outreach.
SDRA is at a water conference and is here. So I'm happy to take any comments or questions you have from there. Their report is in your packet. And so I'm happy to take any message and send to them.
Thank you. I want to have a little conversation about their lack of presence here. They're at a water conference in Houston, and not one representative who could answer questions about the ongoing processes and studies that we have could show up for this meeting. Did they notify Mr. President, they notify you before the meeting that they were not coming?
No.
Did they attend any of the other 10 MUD meetings?
No,
Did they notify you, General
Yes.
Manager, that they weren't coming and you said it was okay?
no.
We don't give them permission? I don't know how it works. That's what I'm asking.
It's their prerogative to come to the meeting.
So
I
we,
expressed that it would probably be a good idea to attend.
well, thank you. I mean, the way I look at this is we are their biggest client. Our constituents pay taxes and fees that we use to pay the River Authority to conduct work on our behalf. The work that they do for the Woodlands Water Agency is for our constituents and it's expensive. They are in essence our contractors. So I'm having a hard time understanding how somebody that's working for me and has control of a lot of studies that will drive hundreds of millions of dollars possible in total capital costs in the next year or two aren't present to talk about the studies that are ongoing. So but we have contracts with them. Is that correct, Counselor?
Yes,
And the contracts are mute as to their presence in our MUD meetings?
I haven't reviewed those contracts specifically, but they're probably mute as to attendance at a regular meeting. They're probably not mute as to large decision-making, expenditures, calling the funds, et cetera, but
And so the only way to compel their attendance is to request it and or change the contracts.
that's probably correct, yes.
And yet here we are, the ones paying the bill. That wasn't a question. That was a comment. Well, I can say that I'm unhappy that such a major contractor to all of MUDs finds it more important to go to a meeting in Houston than to show up for our MUD meetings where they're available to answer questions about critical concerns and studies that we have going that will affect and impact our constituents. So I'd like the record to read that in the minutes, please.
Okay,
Do we have a date yet for that April meeting? Whether
I'll go through it all in my report.
Okay.
Were there any other questions or comments from SDRA that I can pass on to them?
They on page 37 are they in reference to one mud leak? I was curious where that was. Was that the hydrant that was taken out in Capstone, or was that
That was used.
or do you, yeah, if you don't know that.
I don't know if this particular one I'll ask.
Okay. And I was curious on page 41, Eric, in this second item there, MUD 67, the water treatment, WWTF number 2. The comment reads there, one proposal was received January 17th and was reviewed and approved. So is it true that there was only by one proposal there was one bidder for that and that bid was accepted, or is that wording awkward? Seems strange that if it was just one proposal that.
Yeah, typically a specific manufacturer of equipment, you can only get from one rep. So that's likely what's going on here. Because this is a specific filter. So you can't go to different places to get it.
Okay,
There's
Right.
only one rep that will
and
sell
that
it.
explains it. It was just.
Yeah, that would be my,
Okay, thank you.
any others? Hey, item 11, receive update regarding status of Bear Branch, Panther Branch Research Forest Drive drainage improvements. Same thing, right?
no update at the moment. The last stakeholder meeting, the engineers were instructed to put together the benefit analysis and they're finishing that up. Once it's finished, we'll set the new next stakeholder meeting and then figure out where to go from here.
General idea of timing or not really?
I don't.
No.
My guess is be in the next few weeks.
Thanks.
Attorney's report.
I don't have anything today other than to let you know at the most recent trustees meeting, your regular attorney, Mr. Yates, gave a presentation on legislative updates detailing some items that are working with the legislature. It's still fairly early stages, but if you watch that video, and have any follow-up questions regarding anything discussed, please let us know. Yeah,
What's going on?
there's always a lot
It's
going
always
on.
scary, isn't it?
If there's always a lot of very scary stuff at the start. But
You don't really get anything till the end
Oh, I
anyway.
know, it's terrible. I know Eric's gonna have some stuff to say about it, I heard.
Okay, item 13, receive and act on general manager's report.
All right, we go to page 58.
Oh, good
I
heavens.
hope you have noticed something significant.
Bravo.
Compliments, very
Yeah.
good.
Excellent.
Nice
Thank you.
change.
Um,
Yeah.
Kim was the big driver of that, and we worked together to fill the content. I felt like we could do better at being transparent and telling the MUDs what we're doing across the board, because we're doing so much and just
Mhm.
I don't think we've shared that well enough. So we're always looking for improvement, and if you've got any feedback that we can improve this as time goes on, this is our first shot at it. It was a big change. We've been working on it actually for a few months, so I'm glad you enjoy it, and we will continue to improve it.
Question about page 58? Or do you were gonna, was it messing you up?
Nope, just to where a starting point.
Oh, good, just on a 58, what was, I don't know what the, in MUD 67, the top table, bottom of the table, Alden Bridge Sports Park, Phase 1 redevelopment, what, I say the ground all torn up, I just don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I think they're putting, I
AstroTurf.
believe they're putting AstroTurf in.
For sports fields,
Mhm.
AstroTurf, and is there anything that the MUD needs to be aware of in terms of what, any activity we'll have to do?
No.
Bathrooms, or just nothing? Okay, that's all. So I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
Just go enjoy it.
Yeah, what would trigger stuff on
Yeah.
this list would be if we've received drawings for something new coming in. So we review drawings, obviously, for all new development, and we've triggered it, as you can see, redevelopment or new development. If it is truly new, greenfield, new development, we'd say new there. We're gonna we've had a couple comments on this box, so we'll probably make some slight adjustments for clarification on things.
No,
But even on AstroTurf, there's got to be some drainage issues that you need to be aware of, because obviously it's not absorbing the water anymore, but
Well, it actually does,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
AstroTurf
It
is.
does, yes.
They're gonna have those tires underneath it, rubber tires, that's something different now.
Well, the AstroTurf on the top is filled with shredded.
All that stuff used to get your eyes and played on it.
We'll have reduced water sales, but maybe for a good reason.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, probably be cheaper in the long run for the constituents, right? Fields will last pretty longer.
Next item I had was just to point out the continued building improvements that you'll see. Made comment of the TVs earlier. There's a TV on the lobby facing wall for overflow and also for day-to-day messaging to customers. Next big thing we're gonna do is build a customer education interface out in the lobby, which will include examples of different water equipment, like the kind of the history of what meters look like, and an actual meter will be sitting there. Different kinds of pipe that we deal with. A clean out, so we can show people what a clean out is when we're explaining sanitary sewer, and fire hydrant, valve, A-box. We're gonna have a lot of different water-related equipment that will be on display and have little kind of descriptors on it, so people can learn about what the water equipment is that that they may hear about. Next is update on GRP. I gave a summary to the trustees last week. I did attend my first GRP meeting last month, and what I committed to do was giving the seminar, putting the summary of that presentation in your packet in the trustee summary. So highlights. James Korn was voted to chairman, and I was voted as vice chairman unanimously in both cases. We had a pretty significant discussion up front with Lone Star to talk about aquifers and aquifer status. And then I asked for an agenda item to be placed on the next agenda to request that each committee member come to the next meeting prepared to talk about what their goals are as they represent their different entities. I just want to know if we're on the same page or not. And if we're not, can we get there? And if so, let's make that move. So that was my intention at least. So we'll see. Next meeting is next Monday. And then I asked a specific question of SJ about any objections to looking for new members to the GRP, and the response was no objections. Little hurdle just with legal and lawsuits going on right now, but once that's cleaned up, hopefully we can look towards opportunities to further utilize the facility to a greater degree. So I also, as I committed to, continue to keep Brad Houck in the loop. Kim and I met with him after the last meeting. We're continuing to meet between meetings. So we'll kind of rehash the previous meeting and look towards the next meeting. So we continue to do that as I committed as well. So things are going pretty well with that. And next meeting is Monday.
I just as a matter of aside, I did watch that meeting. I watched several in the past. I think you were a welcome addition to that group. I think you have some other welcome additions. There was a spirited conversation about the shape of our aquifers and what's the best way to go about getting water in the future. And I suspect those kind of conversations are going to continue. I think that was why Eric's comment about what our aims are here to the board was a good one, so that they can all kind of say, this is kind of why I'm here and what I want to accomplish. And like he says, if they're not on the same page, well, maybe we can at least get to where we can make progress for the group. So I thought your attendance was well done. And thank you for doing that. Also for including Kim and Brad up.
Yes, we'll
Yes,
continue.
all makes us stronger.
Absolutely.
So well done.
We're committed for change. Next item is just to give you an update, the community work group. Next meeting is April 2nd. Previous meeting, we talked about just various responsibilities with SJ, WWA, and MUDS, and then talked about how projects are identified and funded. Went through some examples of that. This next meeting, we'll get into a little bit more detail on some of the active renewal projects that are going around right now. And then just point out that the AC and treatment plant are in evaluation with no information until the months get it. I did want to let you know that on Monday, I was at the Capitol and testified against a bill that was filed by Representative Gerdes out of the Giddings area. And myself and 3 other colleagues in the water business testified against the bill. So the bill is House Bill 1335. It contemplates or requires that Class B utilities, that's water and sewer mostly, be added to the 811 state call center for utility locates. And so sounds good on the surface, but there's a lot of side effects that are negative to the water industry. I think maybe there's some solutions long-term, but the way it's written, we posed opposition.
How did you get notice of that bill?
Late Thursday evening, and by Monday I was on my way to
From who?
Brian.
Okay,
Yes.
good, because a lot of times these things can slip through and make it further along before you have a chance to really oppose it. So that's great.
Yes, it happened quick, and I had to get up to speed very quickly. We had a meeting in Austin with some MUD attorneys at Sports Page and another law firm, and prepped and went in there. Yeah. I was made aware of another bill that's pretty, I don't know that it's going to go anywhere, but it's pretty damaging to MUDs. It was filed by Toth, and that is, it deals with your ability to utilize revenues to do projects. And it makes it pretty difficult. So something I'm monitoring. I don't think it's gone anywhere yet. So Brian gets back, I'm going to follow up with him to see what that's all about. I read it today. It came up in one of the meetings. One of the other directors had caught it, and I read it. It doesn't look real good for water districts. So we'll see. let's see.
I did see where Amoresco was entering their testing phase with the meters. Any feedback?
No, nothing, no problems. Everything's, haven't seen the final report, but so far, no problems. They've
Good.
pulled some meters to do testings and things are going well.
You think they work, huh? Should be good.
Well, yeah, but you never know till you get the data. That's it's a
Yeah,
big step. to get
We've
that.
had maybe one of all the meters, and not through their testing. It was through, we found it, and had it sent off and it was defective, but I think that's the only one that's, been kind of messed up and we knew it. I mean, we pulled it. The readings didn't come, the readings came back strange.
Mhm.
So we pulled it. This was, months ago, I guess. Nothing that they've come up with.
Let's find your report, while we're on your reports on the door hangers. I just want to compliment, that was a Maureen, I think, I asked her to include 2 years, and it really helps me see the trend. I was,
We didn't have a full 2 years yet.
no, but it's pretty good. I mean, it helps. It really made December stand out, and I wonder why that happened.
Yeah.
But if I can see for that, yeah. So thank you very much for doing it. And it gives me a little more to think about the trend that we're seeing, and as your economy starts slowing down, I think it's good that we watch it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wanted to point out that the All Muds meetings have been identified, the dates. Wanted to share that with you. We will send out a reminder officially to everybody, but April 1st, May 8th, and June 10th will be the 3 current dates for All Muds. It will be likely about 5:30 in the evening for each of them. It'll be at the community center here across the street. My understanding is the first 2 meetings will, as Ed, I think, represented previously, the first 2 meetings will be solely the wastewater treatment plant condition and matrix and all that over the first 2 meetings. And then the third meeting would be intended to wrap up any additional questions lingering on the treatment plant and then get into the AC water line analysis. So that's my understanding at this point. And then if we need 4th meeting, we can go forward with that if necessary.
Oh, are you on that subject still, or are you getting off it? Because I have some comments and questions about that. All Mud meeting.
Whatever. I'm in-
Well, I didn't know if you're gonna still talk about it. So I make sure I understand it.
Sure, go ahead. I've got a couple more items, but go ahead.
But not the All Mud.
Right.
Okay. Is that an open meeting?
Yes, they'll all be open meetings.
Are we recording it?
We're going to, we're arranging to have it recorded, yes.
Okay. And counselor, then if it's an open meeting, but we're not taking any action, correct?
That's correct.
Are the attendees from the different MUDs permitted to talk about what's going to be presented at the meeting? I don't want, what's that thing called? You can't talk about it's an open meeting rule, right?
Open
Yeah,
meeting act.
In other words, can I talk to these 4 about what's
Can you talk to
happening
them when?
before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting?
You can talk to them within a called meeting. So right now, for example, you can talk to
Okay.
them, but if it's district business in general, you can't convene a
That's what I
forum
meant.
and discuss outside of a regular.
I didn't want to break the rules.
You
Okay.
will be able to inside that meeting.
Inside the meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
inside the
That makes it
meeting or
even
in one
more-
of your regular
Excellent.
meetings.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that, remember last month, you approved the resolution, designated that
That's correct.
as a meeting facility.
That's why.
So
Okay.
that was the first step. The next step will be actually to create an agenda, a 67 agenda
Hmm.
that will allow you to
Okay.
have an actual open
Gotcha.
meeting
Oh.
in that
Well,
facility.
thank you for keeping me straight. I don't want to get into trouble, but that makes my next point even more important. As you guys know, at the last meeting, I asked Ed Shackelford specifically if we could have the final reports or preliminary reports and the presentation days before the meeting. As you and I have talked here, meetings are way more productive if people are sharing the common data and analysis before they get in the meeting. It improves the questions. It helps us think. It actually ends up helping create a faster and better answer. However, at that meeting, Mr. Shackelford said he didn't know the schedule and he couldn't tell me if he would or not. Then at the trustee meeting last week, Mr. Maggard asked the same question and he got the same, well, I don't know. I want to go on record that I don't think that's the right way to do this. As I said, River Authority is doing these studies with our money for our benefit, for the benefit of our constituents. there's going to be 50 mud directors in a meeting. And I know from many technical meetings that I've held and participated in, getting the information ahead of time is critical to having good meetings and making good decisions. Is it possible for you, Eric, given that several MUDs have asked for this and we're not getting solid answers, for you to write a formal letter to the River Authority requesting that we receive interim reports, final reports, and the presentation 2 days before the presentation?
It's up to the board.
I'm asking you, is that you represent 10 MUDs.
Yeah, we've expressed that request to SDRA to make it available prior to the meeting. So
Can we formalize it in a letter saying we specifically requested 2 days before the meeting?
you can request it.
No, I'm asking you to do it as representing the 10 MUDs and the Woodlands Water Authority. These guys work for us. I mean,
Keep in mind, it's not their report.
excuse me, I disagree totally. These are their contractors. Their contractors are going to work on a schedule given to them by the guy paying. I've had many contractors work for me, and this is how it works. You say, we're having a meeting April 1st. I want all your materials 3 days ahead of time, period. If you can't do that, we'll change the meeting. These are $100 million decisions, and I don't want to walk into a room and have everything dumped on me. I don't think that's good for us. I don't think we can make good decisions. What happens is everybody's trying to understand the presentation instead of having time to think about it and say, now I know where this is going. Let me ask a question that actually can contribute to the understanding. And this nonchalant answers that I got from Mr. Shackelford about, well, I'll have to see what the schedule is he's the one who should be driving the schedule, not some consultant. And we should be driving Ed's schedule. We're the audience for that meeting. We're the decision makers. It's our constituents that are going to pay the bills. Not having that data before the meetings is in my mind, unacceptable. And I encourage you, and I am imploring you, and I can get other comments from other people on our board, that you write them a formal letter telling them we require that presentation material and the studies at least 2 days before the presentation so that we can review.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I mean, particularly where they're going to be reporting some data and some analysis, it takes some time to do that. And you're not going to have time to do that instantaneously while the presentation is being made. And, kind of go, I'll just flip back to the SGRA's on page 43, when they're talking about the AC pipeline. They said, with regard to that, they're working on a draft report, which will be discussed at the June 25 All MUDs meeting. A final condition assessment report is anticipated in June following the meeting. Well, that, that doesn't work. That doesn't work in that sequence.
I'll convey that to them.
And I would ask if they don't have it, why? I mean, I agree with,
It's unacceptable.
maybe it's subject to change, a little bit, but at least have a close to a final draft available that
Sure.
it could be stamped draft.
Makes sense.
With a couple
Totally.
of.
We all know what draft means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see us at the Woodlands Water Authority drive this type of analysis and these types of requirements with our contractors so that we can make the best decisions for our constituents.
Mhm.
And I would suggest that if we can't get the information 2 days in advance, that we cancel them, that we postpone the meeting until we can. I mean, as you said, April 1st is the condition assessment and site layouts and capital cost estimates. Those are all big final things, not final, but big things to be considered and evaluated, right? We know that condition assessment's been going on and we're all very interested in learning about it. Being able to see that report days before we get in the meeting lets us go do a detailed dive into what we're doing. So thank you, Eric. I appreciate you doing that.
All right.
And I think it would make the meeting go much, as John said, much more efficiently, because there's probably a lot of questions that we would otherwise have that will be answered having read that report, rather than everybody asking the same questions at the meeting. And the meeting therefore can be done spending more productive time
Sure.
discussing the outcome of the analysis.
Yeah, especially since we're not allowed to talk about it afterwards, right? Correct, Counselor? You can't discuss what we heard at the meeting after the meeting.
You can't discuss amongst yourselves as a.
Correct. We have to do it at our next scheduled meeting or have a special meeting, right?
Either one.
Yeah,
Either-
so that makes it even more difficult trying to make technical decisions on technical analysis when you only have a limited time to do it. So it's even more imperative that we get the information prior to the meeting. Did I beat a dead horse enough?
Yep.
Thank you. Now watch it get up and roll. Man. I tell you what. Well, that's pretty important. I'm frustrated.
Next item I had was we're continuing to go through each of the ditches throughout the woodlands. We're about halfway done. We had put it on hold doing some of the work until we had a real feel for, what we're dealing with as far as condition. And I think it's time to get rolling on some work. So as you recall, when we set the budget last year for this year, we put in some extra money to do some clean out in a couple ditches. You had a resident here a few months ago around that time. So we're going to be meeting with her. Actually, she's kind of called to ask, where we are on some of that. So we're going to actually be meeting with her tomorrow and work through some things. But we had already had identified that stretch of ditch. Previously, that was the part that was in your budget. And we actually went and assessed it officially and gathered the assets this last week, I think, wasn't it? So we have officially gotten the data and officially assessed that piece and thought that it would be a good time to go ahead and move that forward. So been working with a contractor to likely get some work done in April. So we'll convey that to her tomorrow, and I think we'll be in good shape. We did encounter, I think we put $75,000 in the budget to do really silt clean out of that stretch, and then another 400 or 500 feet south across Research. And what we also encountered along the upper reach of that ditch is a pretty significant pipe problem coming out right in the north end of that. So that's probably going to eat some of the southern portion of the ditch's siltation, perhaps, just with budget. So we're going to see, how much we can get with the budget that we have.
Right.
But that ditch is kind of great, or that pipe up there it's right by her house. It's kind of cratering a little bit. It's deteriorated pretty bad. So we would do some silt clean out, fix that pipe. So we're working on the numbers for that right now. So
You might want to even look at undercutting it on the other, even behind her and on the other side of Research, to undercutting it by 12 inches or more.
Yeah.
So the silt will build up in the future in the undercut area and might help you.
folks see that. I mean, I agree. And what I've learned is, I would say much of the woodlands has an undercut, center of the ditch, which holds water. So people think, oh, it's not working. No, it's actually contrary. It's actually created more velocity, or the velocity is so good. So it's actually cleaned out the siltation in not in this particular stretch of the ditch, but by forcing that through an undercut, that may actually.
And it tends to provide water where grass can grow right on that edge to help with erosion.
Agreed.
I've done a few of those over the years and they worked out well.
I'm laughing because I've seen that and I said, gee, we're not doing a very good job. Training stuff.
Yeah,
I'd only had Jim as a resource. I wouldn't know. Or you.
it's actually a good thing. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so.
That's
With that, those were, I think, all the items I had. I want to kick it to John for the communications.
Let me ask the question, Eric, before we leave this. What about Vertex, the go live on March 17th? Did that happen? And
We are live and working out the bugs.
working. That's even better.
That's right. Yeah, we did the billing software go live on Monday, and working out some kinks, but we're getting there.
All look like you slept, so it must be work. That's
Yeah,
not easy.
We're
Congratulations.
hiding it really well.
That's tough. It's a tough thing. So congratulations.
Yeah, we actually have them here doing some in-person training and problem solving as we're sorting through, all which new buttons to push. I mean, we've been doing it for 8 or 9 months now, but as far as the parallel path testing, but now when it goes real and live, then you really need to know which button to press to make it do what you want.
so Maureen, do you anticipate having accurate data at the end of March?
I do.
The data is there, it's migrated, we balance to the penny,
Oh, wow.
the air balances, so yep, and we'll bill April 1st for the first time in the new system.
Good, thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, really. Well done, guys.
Big accomplishment.
For authority in there.
All right, page 69 is your communications report. So we're now in the second quarter of our strategic plan. Our focus is on water quality. We were telling our story the last quarter, so you'll see a lot more about water quality in the next few months. Annual reports, of course, went out with the last bill, and we mailed those out, we emailed them out, pushed out through social media. We're still pushing those out in a couple more ways. So I want to let all that land, and then I'll bring some metrics to you next month, and you can assess how impactful that was for you. Initial signs are real good. The open rates on emails are excellent, and, but I'll have some better stats for you next round. Page 70 at the bottom there. So Eric presented to the Township Board of Directors, and Hello Woodlands picked that up. It was also in the Township e-newsletter. So it's a nice press on that. You can still find that on Hello Woodlands if you missed it. And we had a couple other nice pieces there on page 71. We did a piece in Woodlands Community Magazine on helping folks lower their water bill, the various programs and services we have to help them do so. You can QR to that if you missed it. The Woodlands Online, that was a nice long piece on transparency surrounding the water renewal effort, communication effort. All the information that's available, project sheets and so forth on that standalone website. You can QR to that there if you missed that one. Also, and if you flip to page 76, you'll see a separate piece we did in the community magazine on residential water consumption in 2024 and how that stacked up to historical average and so forth. Back to 72. So the upcoming water bill is going to be on the fine irrigation schedule. So we're entering that period now. Folks are anxious to get some water on their grass, even though it's really not time. But when they do so, they need to be in accordance with the DIS. And so we're always reminding them that that's a permanent program. And then we've got some in-person events lined up. We got an outreach calendar there on 72. I'll be at the farmers market this Saturday. I'll be at the township's emergency preparedness event on April 12th. Eric remains busy as ever with his various speaking engagements. You see some of those on there, and we'll be adding to this as we go along.
The Grogan's Mill thing.
Yeah.
The farmer's market. What did you put up a tent?
We have a booth and tent. Yeah, it's kind of standard setup that we do at all of our events where we have giveaways, various ways to entice folks to come talk to us. We can give them water saving devices to take home. We give them information and really just start a conversation, see what their questions and concerns are and go from there.
Who's manning the booth or womaning the booth or however you say it these days?
So I'll be out there on Saturday. Victoria Llewellyn helps from time to time as well.
You welcome some of the directors to stop, say you cause trouble?
Absolutely. You're always welcome to encourage. Absolutely.
My schedule, I think it's
Yeah,
good to get out in front of it.
Drop on in. Stay as long as you want.
Cool.
So last month I had mentioned about maybe doing a graphic related to smart meters. Was you were going to look into that, in terms of how it's progressed into the
Yeah.
MUD district.
Right. And Maureen and I have discussed that. I think we can bring that forward next month. We're about ready to do that.
I was just curious whether it looked feasible, but you said you were going to take a look at
It is. We've been talking about the
Format and
what would be most insightful to you.
Great.
You didn't forget.
Not at all.
So look at that.
We've been a bit overwhelmed with.
Oh,
No,
sure.
no,
No, I wasn't playing. That's
Again, I'm not pushing for it. I just was wondering whether or not the data is there to make it happen when it's ready.
I think we get that done next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, treasurer's report?
Trustees, yes. One major item on page 75 of your packet there. And there's a great shifting of dollars there that I think needs to be reviewed. First of all, in the first block there, your number's a lot small. I have a separate printout that's a little bigger. But there's a total of 5,126,308 that, as you recall, San Jacinto River Authority had excess funds, and we had to wait an additional 30 days to get the report that said they were still above 90%. And there was no change. It's 102, 103%. So that's good to go. So that's on the refund cycle. The next item is the extension of the current contract with Holloway, and it expires 4/30/25. So this portion is 105,000, and with the 10% is 115,000. Is for the period of May 1st to September 30th. And again, it's just a pro rata, and it's a continuation of what they've been doing. And then number 3, there was a shortfall on the September 30th, end of our last fiscal year, of cash. And following the resolution, you adjust to the 1.5 month level, and it was rounded down. Actually, it's actually a little higher than that, the actual number, but it's round number 600,000, and that's a deduct from the original or the total of 5,126,000. So the fourth block over on the right shows how it all nets out by MUD.
So the 600,000, Paul, goes to WWA. Is it true?
It's WWA, and as of let's see, where are we now? As of the last financial, we had 600,000 in cash. This will add another 600,000. That's $1,200,000. They have monthly expenses of $1,118,000.
Oh,
So that's a revised calculation of 1.07 months. So we're just barely above,
that's where you get.
even with this addition.
Right.
We're just barely above the 1 month. So, but we anticipate, or Eric anticipates having more positive end of the year with the cash.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. We feel good.
And as far as the actual transactions, have you heard anything from San Jacinto River Authority yet?
Yeah, the plan, so what they reported before was it still had to go before their board for approval. We have heard back from them that it's continued to meet that trigger point of 90%. And so they didn't foresee any change from what was originally proposed, and they'll expect to present that to their board next Thursday. And then once that has been approved, then we would expect to see the funds in April.
Okay, and whether it's a cash check or whether it's just an offset, really doesn't matter because it'll just reduce our check that we have to send them.
Last year was an offset, so we
Okay,
would presume it is, but we don't know that at the moment.
and these items all passed unanimously with the exception of one item, and that's the Holloway, and there was one negative vote on that. Otherwise, unanimous vote. That's all I.
We need to recess? No. Any matters for place on future agendas? Hearing none, we're dismissed. Thank you.